Yeah. Okay. So it is etiquette for remote delivery. So this is very much a refresher, an awareness, a reminder, and an eye-opener for a lot of us here on the etiquette that should be encouraged and practiced and observed when you are delivering online. The aims of today's session is very simple, an exploration of etiquette of working remotely. Sometimes I will use the word etiquette, other times I will use the word netiquette. This is because it's the etiquette of online net delivery. So I will use those two words interchangeably, but for the purpose of today's session, we're referring to the same thing. Netiquette or etiquette, we're using them interchangeably. Okay. Right, so I want to believe that the majority of you received this information, this pre-session work, where you had to look at a digital etiquette video and to do the quiz, the Betty's Netiquette quiz. I want to believe a lot of people, if you did not receive it or you received it, just put something in the chat box to say, yes, I received it. The video was fine. The quiz was not okay. So make your comments in the chat box. This particular exercise will be our final. I'm not going to talk about it now, but the thing that we're going to use to round up today's presentation. But in the meantime, it will be good. It will be useful if you could just make a comment in the box to say, yes, I received it. The quiz was fine, or I found the quiz difficult. You know, those kind of things. It's just for us to know, so that in the future we can look at how we send materials to you prior to sessions. So somebody already have said, I did not receive it. Some said the quiz wasn't available, although I watched the video. So that's fine. So please give us feedback so that we can improve for the future. Thank you very much. Next slide, please, Mike. Right. So we're going to look at netiquette and why it is important. And also, as we go along, I want this session to be as interactive as possible. So from time to time, just drop in your questions, drop in comments so that we know what we're talking about. So let's first of all look at the definition. We're looking at the definition for netiquette, and according to the dictionary, the definition that I've picked, there are different ones, but this one sort of summarizes everything. It's more or less the rules of engagement when you are working online. So don't forget the rules of engagement, or the rules when you are working online, or the behavior that's expected. So from us, who are the ones delivering, and what we expect from our participants. The rules that we set, the rules that makes working online harmonious. That's what netiquette is all about. And we feel it's important to revisit this particular aspect of working remotely, because if it's something that we ignore, there are a lot of things that will happen. Yeah, it's not meant to happen if we're working online. We believe that revisiting enables us or serves as a reminder for working cordially. And if we work cordially, then we can learn. The learning environment is smooth. People are able to engage without fear of people intimidating them online. That's why, we think that today's session, all this, important to revisit this. Don't forget, it's about ensuring that the working online is cordial, is smooth, and then also people are not threatened. Once all of this is being taken care of, because we are now working with people that we don't see all the time, as against what you would have observed if you are working in the classroom. So we've got our rules, we've got our charter of when we are working face-to-face in the classroom. So it's the charter for working online that we are looking at today. This is also based on experience, and I'm sure some of us who are managers here, when you visit, when you observe lessons, there are things that you want to ensure in place. So that there are some of you here, your target audience are schools and colleges. You want to ensure the safety. You want to ensure people are safeguarded. So, and we observe, when we go and observe from experience, we want to check that these things are in place. You're able to do that if you are working on, if you're face to face, but remotely, we want to ensure that you remind your participants that these are the rules of the game. Okay, next one, please, Michael. Okay, so before we begin to go deeper into the netiquette of working remotely, let us spend a few minutes looking at the fundamentals of communication, because we're looking at behavior here, we're looking at perception, then we also must look at communication. Communication from the trainer and the training point of view. So for example, the trainer, which is us, yourselves, the host, you are the sender. Our training materials and our resources are the message that we are sending out. So we must be very clear what our role is. We are the trainer, therefore we set the boundaries. So it's like being in the classroom. A teacher in the classroom sets the boundaries, gives learners, give participants a charter, a learning contract to adhere to. So it's similar to when you are delivering online. You are the trainer. What is the rule going to be? So that there's harmony working online, so that people do not feel intimidated. What have you said? That's something we are going to look at today. Now, in terms of the resources that you use, what is it like? What materials are you using? Have you selected something that captures the interest of everyone? Again, it's difficult to tell if you are doing this remotely, but this is where the work really begins. It's ensuring that the message is clear, and the message is the materials that we use at delivery. Similar to what we discussed in the first session, we looked at the channels of communication. Are we going to use Zoom? Are we going to use Skype? Are we going to use Microsoft Teams? It depends on what works for you and your audience. So you must make sure that you select, you the trainer, the sender, must ensure that you select material, you select a channel that is appropriate to your needs and those of your participants. Michael today talked about knowing who your audience is. It's so important that you are clear in your mind who the target audience is. They are the receivers of the message. Are they in the rural area? How do we get the message across? What language do we use? What level of literacy? So it's so clear that we don't want to lose the essence of communication. And in order not to lose the essence of communication, we must understand who our audience are and how to get this message across. So for example, in the morning today, we talked about farmers in the rural area who struggle with connectivity. Therefore, how do we get the message across? If you are using a high-tech method to contact these people, they will never receive the communication that you are sending. The message will be lost. So we want to be clear in our minds who our target audience are, and also identify the barriers. So as I'm saying this, I'd like you to picture yourself. Okay, so I am the trainer. What's the resources that I'm using? What channels? By now, we should be thinking about, okay, I'm going to deliver a session. Maybe in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to use Zoom, and this I hope my end users are. These are the barriers I'm going to face. I'm going to face, for example, a time zone barrier. Electricity is going to be something I'm going to face. If that is the case, what is my contingency? How do I deal with this? What is the infrastructural barrier? It's all about connectivity. How long? So, okay, can I shorten my delivery so that people do not compromise the use of their data? So these are the things that us senders and trainers should be aware of. Please make sure as we go along, you are reflecting and you are jotting somewhere in your notepads the barriers that you are going to encounter, and hopefully how you'll be able to deal with how you're going to overcome these barriers. And it's something that we're happy to talk about during the course of the question and answer session today. And then finally, it's so important that we consider feedback. How do we feedback to our audience? So we've sent something. How do we close the loop? And the method to close the loop is to encourage feedback all the time. All the time, feedback, because we use feedback to improve. We welcome feedback. And the same as you, trainers, please do request feedback, because the feedback then enables you to identify things that you can do differently so that you can improve for the future. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Right. So this is our reflection. Bearing in mind that we are working against time, time is a constraint. What I'd like us to do, Michael and I are going to we are going to focus on the chat box. We want you to think about some rules. What are some of the rules that you are going to encourage as a trainer prior to a training session? Or what are some of the rules as a trainer or etiquette that you are going to encourage for your organization when you are going to deliver something? If we are just going to keep an eye very quickly, we'll say 3 minutes, jot something down for us as to say, this is what I'm going to encourage. This is what I'm going to, and then we see how that we can use that to construct a charter or a standard for an organization when you are delivering. So Michael and I were just going to keep an eye on the box now. This is our reflection, your reflection, our reflection. 3 minutes for you to consider the accepted rules or the accepted behavior for remote delivery that you would promote within your organization. If there's any question, if I'm not clear about what I'd like you to do, please let us know. You can ask. Yeah, thank you very much. So taking turns, for example, so there's orderliness. Having a backup is a very good one as well. So just in case, you know, we are faced with problems. Very good, active participation. Okay, so don't forget behaviors from that you expect, time management, well done, Abiodun, that you expect and also that you want your people to adhere to. Timing, yes, good, very good. Avoid bullying, cyber bullying, very good, well done, madam, Mr. Amos. No shouting, yes, so some orderliness, consideration, well done, yeah. Yeah, so phone on silent, well done, yeah. I would say that as a respect, yeah, appreciate, yeah. I agree with you. Promptness, brilliant, Miss Rita, I agree with you as well. Muting, very good. Respect for people's opinion, yes, absolutely. Elicit feedback, dress code, absolutely, Miss Rita or Mrs. Rita. Yeah, okay. Questions are necessary. Recognize adults, yeah. Background noise, well done. Pre-knowledge, proud knowledge, yeah. Muting, well done. Okay, so it seems as if most of you have seen the presentation already, because everything that you are talking about now that you are typing on the chat box are the things that is in our presentation today. Well done. So again, it means that we are aware. So this is just a reminder of what we want, what is expected in terms of the netiquette of online delivery. Yeah. So next one, please, Michael. Thank you very much. Show your respect. So now let us look at what we should do as trainers pre-online delivery. So we've got to deliver something next week. What is it we must do? Or we're delivering something tomorrow. What is it we must do? Or we're delivering the next hour. You've been asked to stand in for your boss. What is it I'm going to do? So let's look at the list. It's longer than this, but we've just selected just 6 things for the purpose of this presentation, of things that we feel are important and we should keep our eyes on. At the end of today's presentation, you will be sent the slides. So please use the slides to draw up a charter, and we're quite happy to look at your charter for online delivery or your behavior for online delivery that you've set your participants. So firstly, we must agree that we must make sure that we have proper equipment. And then we test our equipment because we don't want any problems. We don't want technical glitches. It will sometimes happen, but it's always good on the day of delivery that you check. Schedule your training. schedule your training so that people know about it well ahead of time. So for example, the training that we are doing today, we've received loads and loads and loads of dates and reminders. So there was no way we could have said that we did not know it was going to happen. So it's just ensuring, if it's possible, that you ask people to suggest suitable dates, but sometimes it's never going to be possible to do that. Therefore, if you are selecting the dates for people for training to happen, you give more than enough notice so that people can rearrange their diary and be aware of the training happening. It's also very important that we are aware of time zones, because sometimes there are people who want to join us, but they are in other parts of the world. I was supposed to have been in the UAE yesterday, but I couldn't. So if I was going to be in the UAE yesterday, it would have been 3 hours difference. So bear in mind that there are times where your delegates are going to be in different parts of the world, but they also still want to be a part of your delivery. Therefore, please be aware of time zones. It's also very important that you ask people to respond to confirm that they will be able to attend, confirm attendance, simply because you want to be able to prepare. You want to ensure that if the group is going to be too large, that you get somebody else to co-host with you. So just having an idea of, people confirming that they will attend. We were told severally for this presentation, for today's conference, to confirm that we're going to attend. So as we will ask RSVP. Also, we sent something out ahead of today so that there's some pre-reading, just some pre-awareness of what is going to be. We sent the link to the video, and then we also sent the link to the quiz. So where it's appropriate, let people know what the topic is, and then also send the materials ahead of time. And then for the host and even participants, be there on time. Be there on time, and then just settle down. Just be sure you're there on time to welcome people, welcome this, welcome that. It's what you will do in the classroom. I remember 23 years ago when I stepped into a classroom. Before then, I was told you are going to meet these teenagers who are unruly. But then my mentor at the time told me, but the secret to this is get there 5 minutes ahead. Get there. So when you are there, it's a form of mental ownership. I own this classroom. I own this space. Therefore, I want to be able to manage what goes on. You can imagine coming in late. So you will just be all over the place. You are disorganized, you are not comported. So it's always good to be there on time to welcome people, welcome Mr. Davis, welcome Dr. Jones, welcome this. So, straight away, even before the session starts, people are feeling relaxed, and then they feel they are already part of the group. Again, it's also important we look at our dressing. A lot of the things that were posted in the chat box today was around dressing appropriately. I remember once, as a senior manager, when I went to do some observation, where the teacher was not well dressed. It was a markdown because the teacher was not dressed professionally. So it's the same thing if it's what we expect from face-to-face. In online, we expect the same. We're not saying you should be suited and booted, but we just expect you to come well-dressed, professionally, the way you would dress when you're going to your office. So all the time, that's also very important that we dress appropriately. Thank you very much. Next one, please, Michael. Right. So what we just looked at was the pre-delivery. Now, on the day of delivery, like we are now doing, during delivery, what is the etiquette? What is the rules? What are the expectations? And what behaviors do we expect when we are now delivering? We expect that the video should be turned on. Even if you are not speaking, leave your video on. And when you do this, it makes the whole environment look personal and interactive. But also be aware of cultural sensitivity. That means a lot. There are some religion, there's some cultures where, people don't want to be seen, they don't want to use the video. So I respect it. But otherwise, please leave your video on, even if you're not going to speak. And it's also important that we mute the audio. Because if you mute, Then, you know, there's no noise, there's no audio distraction. People can, there's no noise in the background. So it was one of the things that was identified when our colleagues, you know, were putting their comments in the chat, the comment box, that we mute. So please remember that. And when you are delivering, you could set it, or you could say, so for today, please, everyone, make sure your video is on, mute your audio except you want to talk. So make sure those ground rules are in place when you are setting your charter or the expected behavior for online delivery. These are things that we expect. Try to ensure that your background is neutral. Yeah, you don't want your background busy or is such that distracts people's attention. But also, I think Zoom and Microsoft Teams have a background that you could use. You can actually use their background if you do not feel comfortable using the background that you think is neutral enough. So use one that is already in place. But please, please, please set a neutral background, because you know it makes your background not too busy, and then people can concentrate. It's like going into a classroom and it's all over the place. You know, it's really not conducive. So we're looking at how you set the scene here, that the background is neutral. It's highly, highly recommended that you are aware of your surrounding. You are aware of where you are delivering, so that there is little or no interference. Interference could be, for example, our kids. We have kids. We are now all working remotely or working from our sitting room, dining room. We don't want kids running in and out, because it's a form of distraction. And this is about professionalism. If we have that distraction of children running in and out, or even our adults walking into the room where you are having your Zoom meeting or your training, it does not speak well about your organization. I'm sure we know that. This is just a reminder. It doesn't speak well. We want to portray professionalism. So professionalism really is just making sure that the surrounding, there is no interference. You know, we don't have our pets running in and, you know, the dogs barking. People will not be able to concentrate, and then we lose the whole essence. It's like, you know, a face-to-face delivery in a classroom, and somebody walks in with pets, or we bring our children in. We love our children dearly, but that is not the time and the place for it. So it's a respect for the time and the place from where things are happening. Most of us like to multitask, but unfortunately, that's not a behavior that is encouraged when you are delivering online. In terms of, in the middle of it, you are having a sandwich, you are having a drink, you are having a side conversation. It's a no-no. It's a no-no. It's something that we need to write something about. Please put the drink away at the time where you are having that Zoom meeting, or, you know, put your finger away, no conversation, just focus, so that people, it's not just about you and your needs, it's also about all the other participants in the session. We don't want distraction. So please, please, please ensure that is a no-no, no drinks, no interference. For just that time that we are presenting, it's a time that we must give the focus that it requires. It shows that we have respect for our organization, and also that we respect the people who are joining us. If it's people are just streaming in and out, our background is busy, there's noise everywhere, then, you know, it does not show professionalism. So we're going back to the drawing board to ask ourselves, what do we want to implement? What are the rules we are going to set? If there's something that you're going to leave here today, is agreeing on the rules of engagement, on the rules of our online delivery, because that's where we are. This is that's our reality. Because this is our reality, we must make sure that there are ground rules, so that people can feel as part of the team, so that people can feel this is where I want to be, and so that we represent our organization very well to the best of our ability. This is what this is about. Representing our organization to the best of our ability, and also communicating this information to our trainees, to the people who are delivering to, so that, you know, there's harmony during delivery. Next slide, please, Michael.
Thank you. So now let's focus on, so lots of really key things to keep in mind here. Let's think about then after the online delivery, because part of our etiquette or our netiquette here is the way we handle post session. And again, it's, you know, as Patricia's been highlighting, the way we interact with learners and when we expect learners to interact with us face to face, there's very little difference when it comes to being online. So obviously, if we're talking online, there'll be some kind of follow-up that we send to our participants, or at the end of the session, it'll be very clear what's expected of them next. So for example, here is work that I need you to complete. Here are some pre-assessment materials which we will use in our next session, or engage with each other in these projects. Whatever that task may be, we make that very clear at the end of our session, either during and by some kind of interaction online. So again, could be a simple text message, could be an email, it could be you have a private group on some kind of platform which you're able to interact with them on. And of course, say thank you. You know, it's basic etiquette wherever we are to say thank you, that you appreciate their time and effort, and then it will all be worth it as well. Now, one of the key questions that some of us may have is, okay, well, what happens if a learner hasn't attended? Well, that then goes back to the follow-up question here is, well, what would you do if they didn't attend on a face-to-face session? So we already know that there may be some learners that we're working with who have paid for the courses themselves. We may be working with learners who have had their courses paid for them by their organisation they work for. So of course, whatever your kind of process was before should remain the same. So for instance, would you contact that particular learner and copy in their line manager, their organisation, to kind of find some information in regards to why they didn't attend? Patricia's already spoken about some kind of charter, some kind of document that's signed by the learner which outlines the expectations of them. Well, what was your attendance policy beforehand? Do you, in that policy, say, well, if you are not able to attend for 2 or 3 sessions in a row without reason, well, then that may mean that you are taken off of the course or whatever. These are key things to bear in mind. Of course, people have reasons. It'll be important for us to discover those reasons before we take action. But it's also very clear in your post session to know what the procedure is in your organization, so you know how to proceed as well. And finally, for me, before we go back to Patricia, we've touched a little bit already in terms of online privacy, data protection as well. So it'd be important for you as an organization and your own intellectual property that you make it very, very clear that participants are not allowed to share training links and resources and passwords with individuals who have not been formally invited or who have paid for your organization materials. Also, of course, if we are training, then you will be privy to sensitive information from learners, such as perhaps something as simple as their email addresses to even their bank account details. And you have an obligation as an organization to make them feel safe and for you to be very clear on what those policies are. So it's always important to make sure you're clear on how to share data with individuals, because otherwise there could be issues for your organization, because if people don't trust your organization, they won't use your organization. But it's important you also think about how you protect your materials that you've worked hard to produce. Thank you, Patricia.
Okay, so let's go back to slide 3, the one about the video. Okay, so it looks like some people did not get the video, the digital etiquette YouTube sent. We will get the organizers to send that to you again. It's just, you know, a summary of the things we've talked about today. It's good to be able to have a look at it. And then there was also a quiz. I'm just going to, for those people who saw the quiz, and for those who didn't, I'm just going to summarize very quickly some of the things, some of the issues that were identified in the quiz and the good practice that were suggested. So for example, if you are training and you have somebody who knows it all, an expert in your training, when you're training, you can use that person's skill to help. You can use that person as a support to help others. So don't be dismissive of somebody in the group who is struggling to, for example, share something, share a document. So you've asked them to prepare something, and let's say Patricia could not share her screen. So do not, as a trainer, be dismissive of Patricia. Support her so that she's able to show what she's done already. There was also another one about Diana. The situation was about somebody who has posted some nasty remarks online. So if you come across that situation where, within your group, your online group, somebody has posted nasty remarks, it's not something that should be overlooked. It's something that should be jumped upon immediately. Otherwise, it will be regarded as cyber bullying. There was also a situation about somebody, Erica, where Erica has received an email from her friend and she wants to forward this to others. So you've seen email and you think it's good. What do you do? What is the good practice? The good practice here is, please do not just forward the email to others without permission. It's really, really important that you obtain permission before you forward. So it's things that we all do from time to time, but do not forward it without permission. Another situation that was identified in the quiz was where Alexi wants to pop a comment for emphasis. So, you're asking people to make comments, and there's this person, Alexi, wants to pop up, but then she wants to emphasize it. So a no, something that we're encouraging people to stay completely away from is the use of capital letter. So it's just using capital letter all the way to emphasize something. In an online environment is considered to be aggressive and rude. So please, it's something you want to tell people. This is rude. That's how it's being considered. So stay away from it. Another one, Carlos email to forward to 20 people. Again, what we are saying here is before you do that, you always ask, and then make sure that you do not send people you BC emails so that people do not have access to other people's emails. That's it really. So I've just picked a few just to summarize with you. So it's around not just forwarding information. It's about asking, seeking approval, seeking permission, request permission, and it's also about ensuring that people are not bullied online. There are no nasty comments. For those people, especially who work with young people, it's a serious safeguarding issue. If you cannot jump on where people are being bullied online with, rude comments and rude remarks and all those kind of things, please keep your eye on it, and then just make sure that people feel safe, people feel happy, and then people do not feel that they are going to be intimidated whenever they make a comment.